When you're back to when you were doing a ketogenic diet, you said, you're still having a lot of gut issues and just
Yeah.
didn't help. What were you eating on the ketogenic diet, by the way? Was a lot of vegetables and things like that, or what was going on?
I think maybe one thing that did not help is eating a lot of nuts on keto.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a good idea. And I think, to be honest, nuts just like mess me up pretty bad. But a lot of nuts. And then, the issue with the keto was that you could still eat veggies and some of the fibrous vegetables too really definitely didn't help me at all. What I noticed is, even doctors would tell me, eat more fiber, eat more fiber. I'm like, how much more fiber can I eat? And it gets worse and worse. So the keto was okay. So I would eat steak still. I would eat a lot more like almond butter, peanut butter. I would have some veggies. And then I think the fact that I was eating so many like almond flour also, I would make things with almond flour. Anything that was with seeds or nuts in flour form or none, whatever it was, making fat bombs with some of these things. Besides me gaining more weight on it, for some reason, my digestion just did not improve. Like the nuts did not help me whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot, and I think the nuts and a nut butter for a lot of people, particularly when it comes to trying to lose weight, it's often not their friend. And, add to that the potential effects that it might have on your gut. And so it doesn't seem to help.
Yeah.
So when you made the decision, you've seen your husband not die after 2 months, you're like, I'm sure you're looking at horrors. What is he doing eating all this darn red meat? Did you have the sort of, I'll call it a misconception or belief that, red meat is kind of bad for us and we shouldn't eat very much? Was that something that had been sort of, did you have that perception at any point? You'd chosen a plant-based diet for a number of years for whatever reason, but were you like, hey, meat's not good for us, or were you concerned about that at all?
Well, to be honest, like in my culture, we actually eat meat a lot. But I think for some reason in America, there's this idea that meat is not good for you. And I have heard before, like, of course, paranoid people like, ooh, red meat doesn't digest.
Mm-hmm.
Red meat causes more problems. Red meat causes cancer. I'm sure everyone has heard those things. But so definitely, I think I just allowed myself to be influenced by those things, hearsay, as opposed to me actually like, doing it for myself and figuring it out. And most of the time I did those diets, and clearly it wasn't helping. So I don't know why people still persist on the red meat not being good for you. But the other thing was, it's like the influence that you think that something that's been going on or being eaten for thousands of years can be bad for you all of a sudden. Like, I don't know, like it's just quite ridiculous to me. Because when I look at, let's say where my parents grew up in the areas or in those countries and villages where people are very healthy and rarely do have these problems, but I don't know why. I think it definitely was me falling for the trap where they're just trying to push product on you. Because if you don't believe that these things are good for you, you're going to buy almond milk, and
where did your parents hail from? And you said your culture. Where was that?
Oh yeah, Armenia. So it's like South Caucasus, like where it's like West Asia, but it's very, it's like Mediterranean diet. A lot of meats, kebabs, keftas. We're not big on like carbs necessarily. Maybe every now and then there'll be a rice, but not on a daily at least. Like it's just some veggies, but it is very heavy on animal-based cheeses, a lot of cheeses, eggs, a lot of eggs, meats. But right now I'm also doing kind of modified where it's a lot of eggs, meat. It's not just meat, but I do a lot of eggs, meat, and natural sausages and cheeses sometimes. Not so much, but I'll stick to some fresh cheeses every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends, he's a professional MMA fighter, Georgi Karhanian. He is Armenian by heritage.
Yeah,
I think I think he lived in Russia or was born there, but he was Armenian heritage, and he's all on board on carnivore for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see your husband do this, and so how did you start? How did you? What was it like first day like? How did you decide to do this?
Okay, the first week was really hard. I think it was my brain, it just felt like not foggy in the first week, but definitely had headaches. That I remember for sure. I had headaches the first few days. And I think because of the headaches and like this entire period of not eating what I usually would eat, it felt like I didn't have energy. But I also at the time didn't know so much about the electrolytes that I over time adjusted the whole electrolyte or salt. I didn't use salt for hydration. But I think it was because of that. I wasn't doing it correctly. I did not implement more sodium. I didn't kind of know at the time, but then when I started doing that as well, it definitely helped with the hydration and stuff. But the first week was hard. After that week, it got better. So, I mean, this is some common things people always say where it's just like you feel your energy goes up. You feel like a little clearer. You don't have the need to sleep as much. It's kind of common stuff I think people experience. I just didn't feel fatigued anymore, like especially after meals. I had the same level of energy and consistently without like just feeling like I need to nap after eating. So yeah, that was something I experienced. Yeah.
And as far as, you said, you didn't feel like you needed to eat constantly like you were before. You weren't always hungry. How much approximately were you eating? Do you know, or do you keep track of that?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty consistent, but for lunch, I don't do breakfast. I do consistently lunch. Lunch is usually for me like 3 to 4 eggs, and it depends if I exercise, which I do regularly these days. Like I do a lot of weights and stuff, but it's generally 3 to 4 to 5. It depends, but eggs. And then I would do bacon, like about 4 to 5 pieces of bacon, or I'll do sausage. It's like beef sausage, or like if they're leftovers of steak or beef or something the night before, I'll chop them up and eat it. So generally, consistently eggs. And then I'm good. I don't need to eat until like 6 p.m. And then we'll eat like different types. We'll make different foods. So it'll be like either steak, like ribeye, or we'll make kebabs or keftas, like it's just meat, ground meat put together, or we'll make ground beef, which is like taco bowl. We call it taco bowl. It's you put just sour cream on it and some hot sauce, and it's a taco bowl. There you go. And then sometimes we do chicken. Not so much though, because chicken doesn't have as much fat. But sometimes we'll make chicken thighs or tender, so it has more fat. And then lamb. We do pork. We do pork. I make pork ribs, pork belly, pork shoulder, butt, pulled pork. I mean, there's so much really. Like we're making just lamb chops, roast. There's some liver. I make a lot of liver once a week at least. Liver dish. It's an Armenian liver dish. So I make liver in different types and stuff. So organ meats at least once a week or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because some people include, some people don't with the organ meats. And I know a lot of people, certain cultures, it's definitely more prevalent than others. When you said you had vasculitis in your legs, when did that start going away? I mean, was it still fairly active as you started the carnivore diet, or was it already faded by that time?
When I started the carnivore diet, it was active. I think probably, so I started in May 2020. So I think about by the end of the year, I didn't see any signs of that, but I can't recall 100%. I do remember I had a checkup, annual physical checkup that year. It might have been November or December of 2020 when I saw a primary care. So definitely was gone by then. So from May to either November or December, it was gone by then. Yeah.
And then what about the PCOS ultrasound where that went away? How long had that been after you started? I mean, who knows when what it was when you started the diet, I suppose.
Well, let's see. So again, I started in May. The ultrasound they did in February. So COVID had started around March in New York. So I couldn't really do follow-ups and stuff like that. And then, so I did my next follow-up, I think it was December or January, and that was also gone. But again, I did not do it like before to know it might have been gone before that, but for sure it was gone.